injury to one side of the brain can cause abnormalities in posture or movement on the opposite side of the body. These effects, which are sometimes seen in people who have suffered a stroke or head trauma, have typically been attributed to neural pathways that link the right side of the brain to spinal cord neurons controlling muscles on the left side of the body, and vice versa. But in a new study on rats that had their spinal cord severed, researchers claim to have discovered another, parallel pathway that triggers opposite side effects following brain injury and might instead operate via hormones circulating in the blood. The work was published last month, August 10, in eLife. The findings are interesting and surprising, says S. Thomas Carmichael, a neurologist at the University of California, Los Angeles, who was not involved in the work. While this type of proof-of-concept animal study has limited clinical relevance, he adds, the team's report highlights what could be a novel physiological mechanism. It puts it on the map as something tractable and worth studying. Georgy Bakalkin, a neurobiologist at Uppsala University and author on the new study, tells the scientist that he has long been interested in the idea that hormones can have effects specific to one side of the body, but that it hasn't. While the nervous system is clearly lateralized, the spinal cord is known to be split into left and right. For example, a similar role for hormones in mediating side-specific effects of brain injury or other physiological signals has typically been disregarded, he says. Looking for such effects in their latest study, Bakalkin and colleagues set up an experiment in which they severed the spinal cords of rats, cutting the main pathway between the brain and the neurons controlling the hind limbs. Then they damaged one side of the brain by surgically removing a small section of the area that controls hind limb movement. In rats with intact spinal cords, this kind of one-sided brain injury causes abnormal posture and reflexes in the back leg on the opposite side of the animal's body. In their paper, the researchers report that the same effect occurs in rats that had had their spinal cords cut, suggesting that the cut part of the spinal cord is somehow bypassed in these animals. Control animals that had only their spinal cords cut but no brain injury didn't show the same asymmetry in hind limb responses, Bakalkin says. Closing parenthesis. The team next removed the pituitary gland, which releases various hormones from the brain, and repeated their main experiment. In this case, rats with severed spinal cords didn't show abnormal leg posture following brain injury. It shows proof of concept that not everything that happens in the context of brain injury is through the spinal cord in terms of limb function. Please support my channel to grow by pressing subscribe button and the bell icon. We will notify you technological news. Thank you.